I'd like to thank you for inviting me on the show. It's such an honour to be here, and I'd just like to say that when I'm not playing Xbox with my mate Thor, I really like to listen to my favourite podcast, Pop Culture Pastor. Hey Dave, I'm thinking about doing another revolution. Do you want to join up? I might need some help with organising the pamphlets though.
Pop culture pastor.
Hey Cody, I want to talk about Art the Clown for a second. I assume I was going to ask, I assume you're down with that. But I think we just figured that out.
I don't recommend others watch it. But yes.
Is he the ultimate scary movie villain, or is he just a guy who didn't get the memo that clowns are supposed to be funny?
Oh, he's hilarious. But he does dark things after the hilariousness.
Pastor Cody is going to be defrocked by the end of this.
Yes.
Oh, he's hilarious. I don't know. Did you picture him? What is with the clowns as scary creatures recent? Like, that seems to be the last generation or two where we really dove into that with the, there's the Stephen King one, Pennywise.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I imagine little kids at career day, like kids like, I want to be a doctor. I want to be an astronaut. And like some kid with a clown nose, I want to make people scream.
Yeah. So there's a couple things. I think like John Wayne Gacy.
Oh yeah.
Him being a clown as kind of his side hustle.
Yeah.
On top of all the criminal activity and deaths that he caused. Definitely bolsters kind of that portrayal. But then, like, where clowns kind of originate from also will add to kind of that mythos that it's not just all fun and games. Sometimes you're out burying people in the medieval times. And so, yeah.
It's such a weird place to be. I just never thought... Well, let me first say this is Pop Culture Pastor, the podcast. My name's Dave. Cody's here.
Currently.
And I never thought we'd be in a place where, like, I know it's the Halloween season, and so we naturally want to talk about more of the scary stuff, and we time big movies to come out around that are scary.
Yes.
I just never thought we'd be in a place where Art the Clown from Terrifier 3 is the pop culture thing of the moment. I just never thought we'd be there. It's so weird to me.
And for a Christmas movie.
It's not a Christmas movie. The opinions and views of Pastor Cody do not necessarily reflect Pop Culture Pastor. It takes place around Christmas, right?
It takes place like their during version, Christmas, yes.
This is like their version of Nightmare Before Christmas.
I would say it's like that movie with is it David Harbour where he's like a Santa Claus that kicks butt?
Yeah. I can't remember the name of it, but I keep wanting to say Bad Santa, but that wasn't it.
Nope. That's a Billy Bob Thornton joint.
By the way, that David Harbour Santa movie was actually kind of legit.
This definitely takes place around Christmas and family being gathered for Christmas, and that kind of leads to the hero and their return to the story. And so it's a plot device.
Yeah. So you said, you sent me something on Twitter from the real Sean Hunt. Are you familiar with the real Sean Hunt?
I have forgotten who the real Sean Hunt is if I sent it.
He is a horror movie addict here to talk about him as well as share horror related parody posts. He's a horror fan. He's got a lot of followers on Twitter, or X as it's called now. He said, this is my horror hot take. Art the Clown is the first true horror icon to emerge thus far this century. He rightly says that Pennywise was already an icon under Tim Curry in the TV version that happened before the turn of the century. And, of course, the book was written
long before that.
And he said the Saw films went on without Jigsaw, so he's not like the focus.
He's not.
And he says, honestly, I haven't seen a horror character catch on like this since Freddy. And I think he's kind of right. Like
he ain't wrong.
Everyone's going crazy for it.
And there's going to be a fourth one. Spoilers. If I read the post from the creator/director correctly, this will be the last one in the Terrifier series. That Art's story will have concluded.
Thank God. I'm just like, I'm just not a fan of, well, and I appreciate they've modeled it after like this 80s slasher vibe. Where it's clear that it's coming from this place where it's taking its cues from Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, where it's this supernatural figure who is behind all of this terror. And it's clear that they made it, and it's clear that it was a good idea because people clearly wanted that as we look at the box office. So Terrifier 3, this just sounds like, I can't even believe I'm about to say this. Terrifier 3 was the number one movie of the weekend, making $18.3 million at the domestic box office. A stellar beginning, Entertainment Weekly says, because it was produced on a budget of $2 million.
Huh. So you're telling me that you don't have to have a ton of money to make a good to decent movie?
I can pick up the sarcasm. Yes. The film around the world picked up 4.8 million more, so its worldwide total sits at 23.1 million. If you're wondering, the Joker Foley do was way less than that. Wild Robot came in number 2, which I hear Wild Robot's really good.
Yes, I do want to actually watch that one, but I've been told, bring the Kleenexes.
Yeah. And so, yeah, this kind of goes to what we talked about before on a previous pod, which is that, yeah, it seems like the Joker is a massive bomb.
Oh, my goodness. I wish they would have asked my friend James, best friend James, like, what do we need to do to make this movie actually worth watching?
Yeah.
Because there's no way that Terrifier 3 should ever beat out a movie that had that ridiculous of a budget with at least 2 big names attached to it.
Not even that. Let's just go with the IP, the intellectual property.
Oh my goodness.
You could have told me I could pick any villain in the DC universe. We're going to make a standalone movie for it, and you're going to go up against Terrifier 3. Are you scared? Are you worried? Like, no. I could make a total gas bag of a movie. And it would still beat out Terrifier 3 because the IP is so much stronger.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I could have taken, let's say, a Flash villain, because Flash has goofy villains. I could have made a standalone Captain Cold movie. And it should beat Terrifier 3.
Theoretically.
But it only doesn't because Todd Phillips and Joaquin Phoenix wanted to just create a disaster because they hated who liked the first film, allegedly. Of course.
And chose not to keep the musical numbers from the actual musician.
Well, that's the weird part about Joker, too, is if you're going to go weird and crazy and offbeat and try to make, a certain section of your crowd hate it, then go all out. Why did they back out?
It's weird. I will tell you the scariest part of Terrifier 3 for me.
The plot?
Right before we went into the theater, we were told you go into theater number 8. Mm-hmm. And there's no marquee outside saying what movie's showing. And we walk in and credits are still playing. And I see like all these songs listed that have Joaquin Phoenix. And I'm like, oh, we better not be in the next showing for the Joker. I am terrified that we are actually going to be watching the Joker.
You just sit there for like the next 15 minutes through trailers being like,
yes.
This better not be. This is not the clown I want.
This is not the right art.
I don't want either one of those clowns.
And then thankfully it was not Arthur.
He did see the movie, actually. If you're wondering, pop culture pastor community,
Cody did see the movie, watch it, yes.
And do you want to give them a score? Like, did you like it?
So this is on a horror movie score rating because, like, I'll tell you, most horror movies are trash. But this one, I'll go a solid 8.
All right. Okay, that's pretty good.
But I will say it is very much a slasher film. It is not meant for kids. Do not take your children to go watch this. I don't need any more job security at my other job.
So all the rumblings coming out of the Venom 3 movie, which comes out later this month, correct?
I'm excited actually for this one.
When does this come out? Is this going to be out by the time this pod drops?
Potentially.
I didn't even look at that. Venom 3, The Last Dance, and it is
October 24th drop date. So a week from this release date.
Are we going to have to review this movie?
I hope so.
Yeah, I might as well. You know what? I'm not even going to watch the first two. I'm just going to go into this one cold. I can give it an honest review. Do you think that'll work? Like, I don't really need to understand this backstory, right?
I don't think that you're missing anything with Venom 2. Unless they somehow bring Carnage back. And I don't need Carnage ever. Eddie and Venom. That's all you need to know.
So I'm intrigued because...
Venom Horse.
One, because of Venom Horse, yes. But what the trailers show you, and it seems to lead to the obvious of what they're kind of getting out there now, like the film's creators are talking about how Noel is in this movie. Now, Noel, if you're not a comic book nerd...
Or play Marvel Snap.
Yeah.
That's how some of us learned of Noel.
We do have a Pop Culture Pastor Marvel Snap group.
Yes.
If you want to join our group that we play Marvel Snap with on the app itself, just look us up in the groups. We've space available.
Yes.
But yeah, so Noel is like the king of the symbiotes, the symbiote planet.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Venom is. He's a symbiote. And he apparently is going to be the bad guy in this movie, which is intriguing because this is the last movie they're making. They've already said that. And Noel's a big deal. Like, Noel's a Thanos level threat.
At least.
Yeah. In the Marvel universe, he's a bad dude. And there's the Venom 3 director did an interview where he says, this is just the beginning for Noel. So they're planning on Noel being around either in these movies or there's a lot of rumors going down. So Spider-Man 4 is being made right now. And there's a lot of rumblings. They just did a new deal. Sony and Marvel, MCU did, Disney, to be able to, to work together on these Spider-Man movies. Tom Holland made a new deal. He's got a contract for 8 more years or something like that. And however many more movies. Cody, it seems like Noel might be crossing over with into Spider-Man stuff. And maybe Venom 2? Question mark?
What this is for sure is Tom Hardy's last run with Venom.
Yeah.
And so Venom can attach to any jabroni out there. We can definitely get a new Venom, whether it's a different Eddie or a different character altogether. And we might even get a good Venom Spidey run.
Yeah. Yeah, which is what people like me just wanted all along. That was the hard part about the Venom standalone movies is his origin is so, tightly wound into the Spider-Man mythos. And we've talked about that before. So yeah, if those are the rumors, the rumblings, you're going to have Noel in this movie. Now I'm like, okay, I'm starting to get more interested, Sony. Just don't Madam Web me.
What I'm hoping for is I don't think Noel's going to be super heavy in this movie. I think you're going to get a lot of the army that he's bringing. I'm hoping that you get a dash of him in the next Spider-Man movie. And then, I have to team up with Venom to defeat Noel because I am the perfect host.
I'm here for it. The thing that I get hung up on is this is supposed to be like Spider-Man 4 is probably going to have a lot of connections to the Secret Wars stuff and Doomsday.
I'm hoping they say, you know what? Spider-Man, you're too good for the MCU stuff. You separate.
I don't know. That goes in conflict with what I've heard about Spider-Man, that he's kind of the lead guy for the Secret Wars story.
I thought he was going to be more street level.
No. Well, the movie might start off street level, but they backed off that a while back.
You jabronis.
Yeah, well, it's Marvel. Give them a couple more months. They'll change the entire story again.
Ugh.
Yeah. You want to talk about Al Pacino?
Albert?
Yeah. for his friends, yeah. So Al was doing an interview with Vanity Fair recently. Came out October 7th. And he was telling the writer in this interview how he almost died. He's 84 now.
Oh, yeah. Dude is older than the hills.
So apparently during 2020, he got COVID.
Oh, wow. You got to be careful.
And he was an older gentleman. And he said after feeling, quote, unusually not good and sustaining a fever, I got someone to get me a nurse to hydrate me. And I was sitting there in my house. And apparently the medical people that were there, his nurse, that he must have a nurse on staff. Well, he died for a second. He lost his pulse. His heart stopped beating. And he said in a matter of minutes, they were there. I don't know how he knows it was minutes. If he was dead. But the ambulance in front of my house, I had about 6 paramedics in my living room. There were 2 doctors. They had these outfits on that looked like they were from outer space or something. It was kind of shocking to open your eyes to see that. Because remember, it's the pandemic.
It is.
And everybody around me, what he remembers is everybody was standing around me. They said, he's back. He's here. Okay. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Because they asked Al, the interviewer asks Al the obvious question. Because, I don't know how long his heart stopped beating. It wasn't very long. But they ask him the obvious question. Did you feel anything in your near-death experience? And Al said, nope. I didn't see a white light or anything. There was nothing there. He said it said there was nothing else. I was gone. And he basically says he goes on to say there's no afterlife. There was nothing. Now, I know Al's old and Al thinks he knows everything. I just think it's funny that he's lots of people have seen stuff when they had these experiences, but because Al didn't, he says, nope, there's nothing. There's nothing after we die. In fact, that's the headline. Al Pacino says there's nothing after we die.
Maybe he just had sleep apnea.
Right? I'm a little dubious that he was actually gone. Okay. But this is what's funny because later on in the interview, he starts talking about this memory of on being on the set of The Godfather. And he got hurt on the set filming the original Godfather. And he thought at the time that this movie was going to bomb. And he said, when he got hurt, he thought, oh, great, I'm going to get out of doing this film. And he said, thank you, God. And I'm like, whoa, Al, you're going to come around now? I thought you said there was nothing. Now you're going to thank God? God almost got you out of The Godfather. By the way, thank God he didn't.
Yeah. Your money would not have lasted, Albert.
I just thought it was funny that he almost immediately is throwing around God.
And just know you weren't cast in Megalopolis.
I know it's a colloquialism for a lot of people to say thank God. But you're saying 2 words that mean something. You should think about what that means.
And I would think maybe with not knowing for certain how he was raised, but having an inclination, I feel like the big guy probably was a part of Albert's life for at least the early part.
Yeah, it seems hard to believe he maybe wasn't raised in some sort of Catholic tradition.
Yep.
Like a lot of people were. But, whatever. I'm not mad at Al. I just thought it was funny. I think it's funny the things we say and we don't even think about what we're saying.
Yeah, I also find it odd that even if you did die, you didn't stay dead.
Yeah.
You're back.
Well, there's I don't know what I'm going to be like if I'm lucky enough to live to 84 years old. I'll probably think I know it all too. But I think it's hilarious that probably most people wouldn't be able to describe any of that experience. But he's just so sure. It's well, I didn't see nothing, so there's nothing there. Yeah, but bro. And then stated as fact as like, well, there's probably nothing because I didn't see anything. Like you, for one, you might not have been gone very long. Two, you might not have been gone.
Or your brain was without oxygen long enough, you can't remember anything.
And he's 84. He's probably having trouble remembering stuff anyways. Although not that he thanked God when he got hurt on the set of The Godfather. No. I'd love to have a conversation with Al.
I'll let you have it.
He seems like a fun dude. We'll just say that. He seems like a fun dude. I'd love to have a conversation with him. Maybe we get him to zoom in to talk about God.
And The Godfather.
And he... I tell him sometimes I get him confused. You know, our Father who art in heaven, he's got a deal I can't resist. You know, yeah, that's probably not. Is that blasphemous?
You might get defrocked.
All right, we're gonna get out of here before we get defrocked. Stick around. We've got a guest, and it's Cody's wife.
It is.
We're going to play the movie game coming up next. Okay, here we are. We are ready for the movie game.
The game that divides households.
Literally this week, because Cody will be going up against his wife, Leah. It is literally, this will decide who's making dinner for the rest of the week, right?
Yeah.
Loser makes dinner?
For sure.
Did we agree on that?
Unless Leah wins. I don't know if we want my cooking.
We don't want Cody's cooking.
It's late. Listen, you got to use the microwave sometime. Might as well be this week.
Exactly.
All right. So we haven't played the movie game in a while, so let me just refresh you. I am holding 3 Rotten Tomato profiles in front of me. One of a certified bad movie, one of a rated mid-range movie, mediocre, and one certified fresh, highly rated Rotten Tomatoes movie. Leah being the guest, I'm going to give her the honors of picking which one she would like to try and solve first.
We'll do the high-rated one.
The high-rated one. Okay. I like this. This is a good strategy. Leave Cody with that other one. Okay. Leah, level 1. What did I do with my rules? Okay, I found the rule. That was a close one, Cody.
It was touch and go.
I thought maybe the Library of Congress had called and got the rules from us because they're going to want to display these for posterity.
I thought this was taken to wherever they put the national treasure.
That's what. Yeah. Oh, you mean okay? Not the Library of Congress. That's where they stole it from.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. To the Crusaders' treasure. The Templars' treasure. I'm sorry, I always get it all confused.
That or what's in Mount Rushmore?
I don't include that one. That movie wasn't good enough to include. I do to it what you do to Rocky V. Although you include it. No, you do the opposite.
I do, because it exists. We tried to write it off. You can't.
All right, let's not go there. I don't think we need that 10-minute discussion. All right, Leah. This is a 92% rated fresh movie by Rotten Tomatoes that came out in 2014. Do you have a guess? So, 10 years. That's relatively new for this game.
If I had to guess one, no, we weren't married yet. I don't know. There's so many movies.
Well, you either just guess one or you say move on.
Move on. No idea.
Now, don't make her nervous. You're trying to get her off her game.
I am.
Yeah. All right. So level 2 is the second build actor, and it is Zoe Saldana. Zoe Saldana from a 2014 movie with 92% certified fresh.
Is it Guardians of the Galaxy?
It is Guardians of the Galaxy. Cody's in trouble. Level 2. Cody,
That's
do you have
rough.
it in you?
I don't know.
I will say.
What's my options?
You got mediocre and you got bad. But either one of these are very gettable.
What's the scores? Because you usually say like.
Do I usually say the scores? Okay. It's a 15% rotten movie and a 56% rating.
I'll risk it for the 56.
Okay, he's going mediocre. You heard 56%. Yeah, that's right. I usually do give you the score.
Yes.
56% came out in 1985.
Oh.
We're going older. 1985.
The Breakfast Club.
It is not The Breakfast Club, which is going to make level 2 really trippy because the second billed actor is Anthony Michael Hall.
Oh. It's that movie that you really like that I have seen like once.
Oh, he's on to something here. He's having trouble placing the name, though. Can he get it?
Something science.
Everybody listening at home is yelling.
Yep.
At their speakers right now.
Okay. Because if I don't get it here, I might as well just throw in the towel because I'm not going to get it at all.
Anthony Michael Hall, second billed actor. That's interesting in and of itself, really.
That is.
We can have a discussion about that after we tell Cody.
We'll go 16 candles.
It is not 16 candles. We'll rip through the rest of them now.
Yeah.
You just yell it out when you know. 69% audience score, so audiences liked it better, which checks out. The first billed actor is Kelly LeBrock, which that's surprising to me.
Well, it's the science movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Two teenage boys use a computer to generate a beautiful woman, and then a glitch brings her to life. This movie would never fly now.
Nope.
No.
The movie's weird science.
Yep.
Weird science. Cody
I had mystery science in my head, and I'm like, nope, that's a whole nother genre of films almost.
But you were all over it.
I knew as soon as
John
you
Hughes.
said who the second billed actor was.
Yeah.
I just literally couldn't think of the movie title.
Yeah.
Which that has happened before.
Yeah, that's okay. But Leah is the winner this
Yes.
time of this one. So Cody is microwaving dinner for the rest of the week in the Haviland household. All right, that was good. Good edition of the movie game. Now we go to our main subject. We're talking about the best villain redemptions, right?
Villain redemption.
It's redemptive arcs, but we got to go with villains because sometimes anti-heroes get redemptions.
Looking
that's not
at
quite the same.
you, the Crow?
Venom? In the movies? Was he ever a villain in the movies? Because he was in the books. We're talking about this the wrong time. We should just go.
Yes.
Let's go.
You are listening to Pop Culture Pastor.
All right, guys. We are here to talk about the best villain redemptions or redemption arcs in pop culture, fiction, whatever we want to call it. Saying pop culture, is there anyone in music that we would consider a villain that could be redeemed? I say all pop culture, but I don't know if we can in music. Because I spent a good amount of time trying to think of something off the wall.
I was going to say, in comedy, Cat Williams was villainized and is now turning out maybe not to be so bad.
Maybe. Kanye for about 2 months. And then he went back to being a villain again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wrestling, there was a ton that I had, but I didn't go wrestling.
Maybe Bieber?
That's a good one.
Although people never really stopped Bieber lovers never stopped loving Bieber, but he was getting in trouble a lot, and then like he came to Jesus, like literally.
Well, and I think he's probably one of the most misunderstood artists out there. Just with especially all these revelations that are coming out now, I feel really bad for him. If those end up being true,
right.
I'm devastated for him.
We just kind of like redemptions, and so I thought I would start off here by saying, what is a redemption? I can give the definition, but if you guys have your own, like what you were working with as you thought about this, and we came up with our fictional characters who go through redeeming arcs, do you want to give it a shot, or do you want me to just give you the literally the dictionary definition?
I trust Webster.
All right. Redemption is the action of saving or being saved from sin, error, or evil. So I like that it kind of packages that. Sin in the spiritual sense. We talk about redemption a lot being in ministry. Error or evil turns it into a much more broad thing. That it doesn't necessarily have to be a spiritual thing, that you can be redeemed from your mistakes and redeemed from just flat out doing something evil, I guess, which I assume will have characters that cover the gamut of all that. Why do you think we like redemption?
Because I think it reminds us that they're human. Like, I think it's a good quality. I don't know. I just think I think it makes them more real characters.
Yeah.
I think that we like the idea of hope, that even when we're at our lowest, that we're not going to stay there, and that we can be welcomed back. Even if you have hurt someone or wronged them significantly, there's still that chance of mending that bridge and just becoming closer to whole again.
Yeah. I like whole. I like using the word whole.
Yep.
Because it reminds me of the Jewish word shalom, which I don't know if we've ever talked about that on the show. I think we talked about it on an episode of Ted Lasso.
As we should.
Yeah. Because there was the episode in Amsterdam where the good folks in Amsterdam have a word that means close to the same thing as the Jewish word shalom, which is essentially everything as it should be.
Nothing missing, nothing broke, complete.
Totally flourishing. So it's not stagnant. It's like everything working for everyone's good always. And so, yeah, there's this hope, I think, in our brokenness as people. I think we're naturally attracted to redemption stories. Now, I think there are caveats to this, too, because as I was thinking about this and thinking about the characters I wanted to talk about, and I was recognizing that actually we really like these stories, but it seems like that is attached to maybe a level of bitterness. It's like if we attain to this level of bitterness, we go the other way. So there's two kinds of people. There's the kind of person that really likes redemption and wants reconciliation to happen. But then there's the other kind of people who've gone beyond that and say, I want vengeance to happen. Mm-hmm. Now, they say it in other terms. In this country, we use the word justice a lot when we mean vengeance. Mm-hmm. And lately, we also use the word equality a lot when what we really mean is to just flip the scales.
Yeah.
Now, not everybody, but there is a good say, and I think it goes along with people being just in a generally more disagreeable place where we're really angry at other groups of people. And so I'm well aware, as I was thinking of this, that I think the human being is attracted to redemption and reconciliation, and we actually want that. But there is a place we can go to where if we're upset or we're angry, we lose that. And maybe that's why villains happen to begin with, right? Because I don't know about you, but the villains I'm going to talk about, they all had reasons for getting there. Like, how'd they get to that place?
Looking at you, Thanos.
I mean, I don't know if Thanos qualifies as a straight villain like that, or that he could be redeemed.
He didn't get his redemption.
Because he thinks he's doing the right thing.
Yep.
He thinks he's making a sacrifice by sacrificing other people. So he's kind of weird.
Very weird.
He's a complex villain, but I wouldn't say he's due for a redemption because I don't think he thinks he needs to be redeemed.
No.
Well, I didn't have him on my list.
Well, I know, but
Why'd you bring him up?
But this is really interesting to talk about, Cody. I just thought we'd talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay. But you just want to get right into the list, I can sense.
Not necessarily. I just like to throw in my 2 cents.
Is there anything else about redemption or reconciliation or anything like that that you guys specifically thought about before we get into our specific characters?
I thought about who in pop culture or movies whose villainous role really cut to the core and made their redemption arc that much more greater. And also, like, for me, just when you think villains, who are the villains that pop up, and then it's like, well, did they do anything that was helpful? Because, I mean, I could probably go to Batman and point out, like, oh, Two-Face, he kind of had some chances of being good and redemptive. Like, it just depended on what side the coin landed. But that wasn't true to the essence. And so I had to kind of flesh that out. And I think that my list is legit.
Batman's a great example, though, because I think we are in love with the anti-hero now.
Mm-hmm.
And that is because I think we wrongly equate vengeance with justice. And like that's why Marvel fans liked The Punisher, because there was a lot of killing involved, right?
So much.
There was a lot of eye for an eye type action going on. And so then the villains for the anti-heroes have to be like kind of complex and weird, like Two-Face.
Yep.
And Batman really has, I don't think he was always an anti-hero. I think the movies kind of moved him that way. Would you agree with that? And then the comics kind of follow.
I was going to say Frank Miller probably pushes him more that direction. Movies lean really into it, and subsequent comic books continue with that vein.
I would agree with that. Because Frank Miller thought he was writing in like an Elseworlds type story. And then we kind of borrowed from it.
And then it's like, no, this is the real world.
Yeah. But then you get villains like Thanos because, you know, if you've got the anti-hero who's already kind of the guy who maybe needs to be redeemed.
Yeah.
Like the Punisher or Daredevil is a great example. I mean, he literally goes through redemption arcs. He has storylines called Born Again, where he dips back into his spirituality and his Catholic faith. So, like, you have those type of heroes, and the villains almost have to be kind of just crazy, out of control, force of nature type villains. And that's kind of what swings these guys back into their redemption arcs. But our charge was to find villains who got redeemed and which ones were our favorites. So, Leah, would you like to go first and present one of your villains?
I'm pretty sure I'm safe that nobody's going to have this on their list. So I feel good about it, but I have a feeling you're both going to look at me like I'm crazy. But my first person is Miss Hannigan from Annie.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay.
And
I haven't seen Annie in a bit.
Yeah.
Carol Burnett?
Yeah. Amazing. I mean, she never goes wrong. Everything she does is gold.
Just to be clear, Carol Burnett does not need to be redeemed. She's fine.
No, her as a person, she's good. So I went with her because, and for the record, I have thought this for years. This isn't just something new I came across. But if you look at the timing, you know, it's during the Depression. She's making bathtub gin. She's running an orphanage. I don't think she ever hated the kids. In fact, I would say that she loved them. She just didn't like them. And they did a lot of her work for her. But you see that change in her when her brother Rooster decides that he's going to kill Annie for, you know, shredding that check. And you just see it flip in her like, this is the chance. I can continue down this path, you know, for this money, or I can save her. And you see it in her. She switches completely. And she tries to stop her brother from hurting Annie.
Well, I've never thought about it this way. And Cody would be able to back this up, being in the mental health field, is that's like an allegory for social workers in general.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of social workers who, as they went on and they're older, you know, kind of got bitter because it's hard. It's hard work. You got to protect your heart when you're doing that. And so you can see someone going that way of like, well, I'm going to get mine, you know?
She's not married. She doesn't have children of her own. And I just think that's heavy to carry.
Right. Yeah. Dude, I haven't seen that in a long time. I need to rewatch one of the versions.
So I will agree that within the caring professions as a whole, whether you're a pastor, a social worker, a therapist, whatever, that, I mean, you see people come in and not change. You see the system broken. You see everyone else that may be abusing the system, making out like bandits, and it would be real easy to kind of give up on your moral compass and be like, I'm going to go all in with these jabronis. But that moment is definitely one of those defining moments within a character's arc. And so, yes, good choice of Carol Burnett.
Yeah. Cody, who's your first redeemed character, redeemed villain?
Okay. Let me tell you about the character first.
Oh, okay. Yes, please.
So this character traps a girl on an island, leaves her in a cave to die, tries to...
Is this a Saw movie?
Leave her behind many times and leave her to the ocean's beast. But then... And he's always self-centered, super self-centered throughout the whole movie until the very end when he realizes it's not necessarily about him. It's about others. And you can't be completely you unless you have other people in your life. And yes, if you hadn't guessed, I'm talking about Maui from Moana.
Wow. All right. I had no idea where we were going.
Me either. I was so lost.
Like, I'm so old. I haven't seen... I know my kids have watched Moana a million times. I know the music, but that's because I'm in and out of the room, you know?
And he genuinely starts caring about the main character. And he is like, oh, I'm going to actually help her get the heart of Tafiti back to Tafiti, and which you could consider Tafiti to be a villain as well. And then at the end of it, Tafiti's like, oh, I'm happy again. Life's green. Have
Fantastic. Life. I feel like there's probably a lot of Disney that probably has villains that were redeemed on some level.
Potentially.
Yeah, but they're just not popping into my mind right now. My first is going to be, I'm going to go real obvious on my first one. And for my first character, villain who gets a redemption, I'm going to go with Darth Vader of the Star Wars series.
Little Annie?
Little Annie. I love the whole course of his story. I don't know if I would have said that 20 years ago, but I think I've come to a place where I can appreciate the prequels. When we first meet him, of course, he is unstoppable darkness. He's a cold killing machine. I mean, he's killing people on his own side who don't get down with his faith. I mean, that's evil.
Yeah.
It's like when we first meet him, he's choking out dudes because they, like, you know, I find your lack of faith disturbing, right? When the whole story gets laid out through the prequels, we find out more than enough to make him a sympathetic villain, right? We get to follow him when he's a kid, and we see all the brokenness that's going to go into his turn towards the dark side, which, again, I don't know that I appreciated when they first came out, but I'm beginning to be able to appreciate the prequels more. And I love at the end, when it comes down to it, Return of the Jedi, and I don't know if I've ever mentioned this, but Return of the Jedi is probably my favorite. I can look at Empire Strikes Back and recognize that it's probably the superior film, but Return of the Jedi was always my favorite. I loved that movie growing up. I wore out the VCR tape that we had originally. And I love the end of that movie because it isn't him that initiates the redemption. It's his son. It's Luke. And it's a testament to the power of love over the powers of the world, right? Luke throws down his lightsaber and says, I'm done fighting. I'm not going to fight you, which seems like a weird choice. The Emperor thought he had the upper hand. He starts hitting him with the lightning bolts, but it's the redemptive power of love that comes out on top because that's what snaps Anakin out of it as Darth Vader, and he picks up the Emperor, throws him down there. We won't talk about the sequels where somehow he comes back. Like, literally, that's what they say. Somehow he's returned.
He has.
But I love the idea of that. I love the poetic nature of kind of that story beat of redemption, because I think so often it is the people that love the broken person and never stop loving them that eventually leads to the redemption, leads to the restoration. And I dig that. It kind of reminds me of like the prodigal son parable a little bit.
I can see it.
Yeah. Because the son comes home because he's desperate, not not because he's ready to be reconciled and redeemed.
He just gets it.
Yeah, he just gets it. So, yeah, that's my first one. Darth Vader, Star Wars. It's obvious, but...
Too obvious.
Leah, who's your next one?
My next one is Steve Harrington from Stranger Things.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
He's on my honorable mention list.
Is he on your...
Yeah.
Okay, because, he starts out that kind of arrogant, typical jock, terrible boyfriend, even worse of an ex-boyfriend. And then he kind of thinks, maybe if I bond with these kids, I can get back with Nancy. And then that involves into him truly caring about the kids and wanting to do good, wanting to protect the town, wanting to protect them, wanting to help Eleven. And I think that of all of the characters on that show, he evolves the most.
Yeah.
I think he becomes babysitter of the year.
Absolutely.
I think that one of my favorite scenes of that whole stinking series is when, what's the kid's name that he's really especially close to?
Dustin.
When Dustin comes back from camp and he meets him at the Scoops Ahoy and they start freaking out
Do
together.
their special handshake?
Yeah. I absolutely love that scene. It's so endearing. He was on my honorable mention list. I only had one thing written down. It was that his character was originally not supposed to continue that much after season 1.
No.
He was supposed to kind of remain kind of a punk, someone you didn't like. But that Joe Keery, the actor who plays him, was so endearing just as him and the kind of aura he put out there.
Yes.
And people liked him so much on the screen that they wrote that out for him kind of on the fly, and he became a bigger part of the story, which I'm glad. I'm still a little upset they didn't remake Ferris Bueller with him. I was all for that.
That'd be good.
Based on they did the commercial, and people were like, they should really redo that movie with him. But now I think he's too old.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, he is.
I'm too old.
Sadly. But I'm ready. I want more Joe Keery.
I think he's phenomenal. I think he's great.
Yeah. Cody, who's your next villain that's been redeemed?
You know what the worst type of villain is?
No.
One that was a best friend.
Oh, okay.
But then they betray you and go to the proverbial dark side, if you will. And for my next redemption, Nate the Great.
Oh, yeah.
Shelley.
God, you really could pick any character, though. There's so many characters in Ted Lasso alone.
Yes.
I couldn't help but notice you're wearing the Ted Lasso jacket.
Yes. It's part of my Halloween costume.
Oh, are you Ted Lasso for Halloween?
I might be Led Tasso.
Yeah! Get out and touch your toes. Your meat fingers. Your feet fingers, sorry.
But no, Nate is a character that first season you fall in love with. And you're like, this guy. He goes from like picking up everyone's dirty clothes to he knows football.
Yeah.
And then Rupert comes in after some not so much interaction between him and Ted, which kind of leads into him being susceptible to the dark side. But he sticks it to everyone at AFC Richmond constantly, and you're like, oh my goodness, this guy's the worst. I can't handle him. And then he does the unthinkable. He quits because he knows something is not right. And it's his family and the lady at the restaurant that kind of help him to see what's really important in life and what's been missing.
Yeah. All he ever wanted was to be seen.
Yep.
As it turns out. Man, that's great. We had such a great discussion based around Nate on our watch-alongs.
You should go back and listen to it.
Yeah, if you want a whole episode of us just gushing about the redemption of Nate, you should go back and listen to our season 3 watch-alongs of Ted Lasso. My character has a ton in common with Nathan Shelley on Ted Lasso, because my second choice is Loki.
Ooh.
Oh.
From the Marvel Universe. He actually gets 2 redemptions in the MCU. Once the original character in Infinity War, where he sacrifices himself in an attempt to take down Thanos and save the Asgardians.
As one does.
Spoiler, he's unsuccessful. Just gets the sacrifice part down. And then at the end of Loki season 2, which is like the variant version of him, which is the one I'm going to focus on. Because not unlike a lot of villains, Loki has daddy issues. His dad was Frosty, literally.
Nate also had daddy issues, so I'm seeing this connection.
Nate's dad was Frosty, and his adopted dad, Loki's, favors his half-brother. And all Loki wants is to be seen and appreciated, much like Nate. And because he feels the sting of being unseen and not a part of the group at large, he's going to what? He's going to act out, right? He probably starts when he's a young boy. He desires power as he grows so he can force people to see him, force his dad to acknowledge him. And his attempts always get foiled by his half-brother, usually in a very heroic way. And he snowballs, right? Loki in the comics is much the same way. And it's the beginning of the events of the series Loki that he gets his final comeuppance, right? It's like the last straw. He gets taken down by the time cops at the TVA.
Yes.
Which has to be he hits rock bottom there, right? But it's there through adventure. He finds friends. He finds people that see him. And slowly it starts changing and affecting his actions. He begins to make choices for the better of the people around him. And what's the result? At the end of Loki season 2, he sacrifices himself. And the poetry of that, which we also did a watch along on this, talk a lot about it. And the interesting thing that I didn't think about until I was thinking about this episode is he was so power hungry in his bitterness because he just wanted to be seen and appreciated by his dad. And then once he sacrifices himself, he's willing to give up his life and give up all those attempts at power. What does he get?
All the power.
He gets power, right? When he no longer desires it, he gets the throne he never knew he wanted. Not the throne of a tyrant overlord, but of a sacrificial servant king. Wow. Where do they get these storylines, Cody?
Beats me.
Sounds pretty familiar. No one is beyond saving. That's what I love, the message of this. It's better to make the selfless choice, sacrifice and love as the ultimate power in the universe. Glorious purpose. Indeed. That's my second choice. Loki.
It's quality.
Do you have another one, Leah?
Nebula.
We're staying in the MCU. Eat it, DC.
I will not be going to the MCU.
I just think that her story is really sad because she wants to impress her father, and everything that he feels is broken about her, he replaces it with machine. And that's what he's trying to turn her into, is his perfect killing machine. And nothing she ever does is right. And it eventually turns her away from him towards good, even though she's never really nice. She's never really nice to anybody, but she's not what she originally started out to be. Yeah.
And what I appreciate about what they do in the movies with her is it's very close to the comics. Mm-hmm. She's never, she is a straight up villain at times in the comics. But what I appreciated about the movie version is that you see her torture, you see her pain, you see her brokenness. And her storyline's great. The only problem is I wish there was more.
Yeah.
Like, give us more. Every scene with her and Tony Stark in Endgame is gold.
Yes.
Just gold.
It is.
Tony stank.
Sounds like Tony's going the opposite direction, by the way.
Yes.
I know.
Since I guess he's Dr. Doom now.
Allegedly.
We're not going to talk about that. Let's keep it cheery.
Yes.
Who's your next one, Cody?
Okay, I went off the reservation because I didn't want them to all be just common known redemption arcs. Mm-hmm. So I'm going with a movie that's a little scary, a little adventurous, and it comes from 2009.
Okay.
It's called A Perfect Getaway.
Oh, wow.
It has Mila Jovovich, Steve Zahn, Chris
is
Hemsworth,
movie you were trying to get me to watch.
Timothy Oliphant.
Timothy Oliphant. Okay. I vaguely remember commercials for this movie.
I do not, and I was definitely alive. So.
Well, thank goodness.
But without doing too many spoilers, so I'll just use character names. In this movie, there's they're in Hawaii. There's a couple couples gathered around, but one of the couples is actually a serial killing couple.
Oh,
and
I've seen it a million times.
And
Cody.
the authorities are looking for which couple's the serial killing couple. Is it Timothy Oliphant's couple?
It's always Oliphant.
Is it Chris Hemsworth's? Is it Steve Zahn's? You never know. But
I called it, for the record.
the girlfriend or the wife of the main serial killer, her name's Sydney. She has the option to have the wrong husband shot and killed. But she's like, the one that you want is the one that has the gun being pointed at him, and he's the one that has ruined my life up until this point, and I'm not going to let him ruin it anymore. And so, like, she really doesn't have an ultimate reward because she literally is going to go to prison for the rest of her life. Mm-hmm. But she has the moral standing now of, like, no, I'm not going with this any longer. And I'm not going to have innocent people go down for things that my husband and I have done.
You're going to actually make me want to watch this movie.
It's really pretty good.
I'm not going to tell you who is the killing couple. Not going to do it.
What's the name of the movie again?
A Perfect Getaway.
I swear I remember commercials for that movie. All those guys would have been big by that time. Hemsworth would have been big by then, right?
I don't think so.
He was just getting started.
Was that not after Thor?
It's before Thor.
Oh, okay.
But is it before The Cabin in the Woods? It is before Cabin in the Woods. So,
okay,
he hasn't made it yet.
Oh, interesting. Okay. My last character, and this one I'm going classic. Maybe the ultimate redeemed villain of all time, the one that all others spring from. And his name is Ebenezer Scrooge.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, I'm going Christmas. Dickens' A Christmas Carol, the actual literary work, begins with the line, Marley was dead to begin with. And what it means by that is that Ebenezer Scrooge, Marley's business partner, Marley and his partner, he's at his funeral, Marley, but the book and the author are telling you he'd been dead for a while. He hadn't been living life. And you're meant to understand what Dickens wants you to know is that Scrooge is in the same place. He actually hasn't been living for a while. And that Scrooge, by proxy and similarity, was very unloving and was turning out to be the same as his former business partner.
So rude to his nephew, Donald.
And very, very mean to his worker, Mickey.
Yes.
Yeah, I love how Dickens frames his redemption. Of course, Charles Dickens was a Christian, and there's a lot of religious and spiritual imagery and overtones in this story. But I love how Dickens frames it. First, we see Scrooge's past. We see all the ways he's been broken. He's lost ones he loved. He had his childlike trust broken. And the reader is meant to empathize. Then we see his present, and we get moved past his rough, angry exterior that he shows to the rest of the world that's meant for his heart's protection. And we see the life that his brokenness has made. And the reader, through the present, sees his pain. And then we get to see his future. And that's the future that awaits us all. And this is the brilliance of a good redemption story, I think. The realization that Ebenezer isn't the only one in need of a redemption story, that all of us actually kind of want that for ourselves. We're aware of our mistakes. We're aware when we've maybe hurt someone, and the reader sees their own need through Ebenezer, and that their time to fill that need is waning. And I think it's the brilliance of A Christmas Carol, just in general. I think it might be Dickens' best work. Just from I just think it's a brilliant literary story, and it's not. I keep thinking trick, but it's not a trick. But the different levels of Scrooge's story take you kind of on this journey that's almost like a training. It's like, hey, remember what you did looking at Scrooge, where you looked at his past and you saw why he was broken, and then you looked at his present past, his exterior, what he shows the world, and you see his pain, and then his future, and you're like, oh, well, we're all kind of in this boat. It's meant to train you on how to see other people that give you trouble. And I just love that. I love A Christmas Carol. It's one of my favorite pieces of fiction in any format. And Ebenezer Scrooge is maybe my favorite villain redemption.
Did you like it when they did it on Saved by the Bell?
I liked every version of it ever. And yeah, Saved by the Bell. Yeah, it's amazing that they can do so many different versions of it.
Yes.
And it's always the same story. It doesn't lose anything. Even the new one with what was it, Ryan Reynolds, Spirited, which is actually sort of a sequel-ish thing, because the main character, spoilers, Will Ferrell's character turns out to be Scrooge. But it always has the same kind of thing you're looking for. And I just dig it. I only have some honorable mentions, or one honorable mention left. Do you guys have any?
I have an honorable mention.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. You run through them.
And I still think it qualifies, but you guys may disagree with me, and I did the T-800 from the Terminator.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Explain.
Well, because in the first movie, he's out to kill Sarah Connor and Kyle Reese. But then in the second movie, he's not. He's there to save them.
Yeah, Arnold.
So, yes, Arnold.
Yeah. Although he cheats,
he does.
He gets reprogrammed.
He does. He got reprogrammed.
I'm waiting for someone to do that for me.
So that's why I didn't put it on top of my list, because I'm like, it's kind of like, because I feel like in all of the movies, which I've watched every Terminator movie, and I know that's sad, but I think Terminator Salvation is probably my favorite one. But I feel like there's somebody in every single one that kind of has that redemption.
There is a person that will reprogram you. His name's Jesus.
No.
You didn't see that coming.
I did. I totally saw it coming.
For me, I'm going to go with Marley, but not Bob or Jacob. I'm going with Old Man Marley from Home Alone. He was a villain.
He was, actually, yeah. Not as much as Buzz thought.
Yeah, ask his son and grandchildren, potentially, and Buzz will tell you how extreme of a villain the rumors were. But he gets redemption at the end after having some heart-to-hearts with Kevin and then realizing, Christmas, family, it's a thing.
But look at what our bitterness can do there.
Yep.
That's a great example. Is according to his son, he was that monster that Buzz talked about, right?
Yep.
Maybe not literally, but figuratively. And all it took was a softening of the heart by a young, precocious child.
Kevin.
To get the old man to come back hat in hand and recalcitrant. Is that the word? There's probably a better word, but I wanted to sound fancy. All right. The only one I had left was Jamie Tart from Ted Lasso.
Jamie, Tart, do.
You massacred that.
I did cry
I know,
over
but
him.
that's because she inserted Jamie again, and I was like, are you singing with me?
Jamie Tart, driven to achieve by an absent father, he creates his own pride when dad won't affirm him and his talent. Understanding his brokenness, Jamie's able to exorcise the demons of his dad and become almost a completely different person by the end of that show. And I will say that there were some people who were like, I don't think that's believable. I find it completely and utterly believable.
Oh, yeah.
Because there are so many people out there, I being one of them, that are so, like in their early adult years, you're so controlled by what you feel are the mistakes of your parents. And you hold this just this bitterness and this anger towards them and basically towards anybody you feel has ever wronged you. And for me, it came with maturity, but realizing that my parents are broken people too. And that they didn't do anything intentionally to try to hurt me.
Well, they're growing up too.
Right. Once you understand that everybody's kind of broken and in a way, that's what Jamie learns. He learns they're not perfect people, and I can either keep living my life in this unhappy way or understand that everybody is dealing with things like this and be a caring person.
I hear you.
And now he's free to not do Ted Lasso season 4.
Yep.
Because of scheduling conflicts, and now we don't get more of his story, which I'm a little upset about. Did they ever officially announce Ted Lasso season 4, or was it just still rumor bussing?
I think Bill Lawrence officially announced it.
Who's Bill Lawrence?
He's the co-creator, showrunner.
Oh, okay.
The guy that created Scrubs as well.
Oh, okay. Very good. All right. Anything else you guys want to say about redemption?
I think we all need redemption, and having these stories out in the ether, if you will, shows that we're not completely lost.
Yeah.
That there's still hope.
Well said. Well said. All right, Leah, thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
What do you guys think? Who are your favorite villains who got redemption arcs? Let us know on the social media posts for this podcast. And of course, as always, please subscribe. I say this every time, but I really mean it this time. Please subscribe to the pod, share the pod, download old episodes for you to listen to that you haven't listened to before. Go through the whole archives. If you like our show, then you'll pretty much love every episode. I promise. That's a guarantee.
Almost.
Is there a show that sticks out that you feel was bad?
I don't know, but you'll have to listen to them all and tell us which one.
Definitely. All right. Have a good week, and we will see you next time.
Pop Culture Pastor. Pop Culture Pastor.